Cooper's vintage is, you know, the star of the stable, I guess, here at Cooper's, and it's the star of the show in the vintage pot roast. Let's just get a big whack of olive oil in my pan. Needs a fair bit of cooking time and also needs a fair bit of salt because a lot of it will fall off from a height, not because it looks fancy, but because it actually does spread the salt evenly. And just some black pepper as well. I'm going to put the fatty side down. I'm going to render that fat first because that's going to add a lot of flavour to the dish. Potatoes into pretty nice chunks. Of course, at home you should use tongs, but I've got my hot hands on them. I don't have much feeling left in them. What we're doing here is essentially building our levels of flavour rather than just sort of adding it all in cold and pouring beer all over it. This is going to add a caramelised sweetness that we really like in our food. And I added 3 cloves of garlic about a minute before the rest of it was ready, and now I'm going to add it to our pan. So we're going to deglaze with our beautiful Cooper's Vintage. Going to use a whole bottle. Going to have to work quick here. In the froth of the vintage is actually all the flavour that was stuck to the bottom of the pan. Just a couple of bay leaves to chuck in there. Lovely sprigs of rosemary that I'm going to chuck in as well. A good sprinkle of salt. Chuck this into our oven that's on about 160 degrees. About half an hour before we finish, we're going to add some potatoes. A little bit more of our beautiful Cooper's Vintage. About 10 minutes before we finish, we're going to add some peas. We're going to finish it with some parsley and some lemon, and we're going to drink it with a bit of vintage, so it's going to be a tasty dish. Unlike a normal roast, you don't need to worry about letting a pot roast rest because it's been cooked with all the liquid, so I'm just going to carve it. It's just falling apart. One of these cloves of garlic, it's still in its skin, but it'll burst out of there. Pick a bit of parsley through there to make it fresh. You know, you've made it with vintage, which is a superstar of beers, and you want to make sure you get lots of the sauce on there. Of course, because I always do it, just a sprinkle of salt on the meat. And just a squeeze of lemon just over the plate. So it's my Cooper's Vintage pot roasted beef. This dish is a really cool one and definitely worth the effort at home of, you know, going to a length. When you've got a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, you can do a bit of cooking. This is one you should definitely try.